I've been happily washing clothes this afternoon, albeit Sunday, but then I don't observe Sunday. Not in that sense of the word anyway. Every day is a sort of a work day because there's work I have to do. But I hand wash all my clothes, as you know, and I've had to put that duvet cover there on that little drying rack because, of course, the washing line is absolutely full, and there's quite a good breeze going on up there. You can just see the clothes on the line. A little bit of wind today. As I was washing, because again, I try to make all the work that I do meditative, so it just gives me a chance to think and a chance to just enjoy the quietness. In fact, I haven't had the radio on today, or any sounds, not even music. But I was thinking about restorative justice, and restorative justice in terms of Mother Earth, and realising that it sounds fantastic, restorative justice, but in fact it hasn't been practiced at all. Because I was trying to put into words what it is that I've been doing here for 14 years, and indeed it is restorative justice, because I've been taking what was incredibly abused land and restoring the health and restoring what it is that the earth needs to have as a mantle. And she needs trees and plants. It's just so incredibly simple, and we're so incredibly stubborn about accepting that fact. And politicians and, you know, meetings of the high and mighty, and, you know, just witter on about, you know, carbon credits and almost turning it into a business, almost turning this devastation and the need for restorative justice for Mother Earth into a business. Really is incredible. But anyway, following on from that little video that I made yesterday, of course, when it came up to 30 minutes, the whole thing just cut out. Jack! So I'm going to get out of the wind and I'm going to take a little walk and see if I can't go along some of the parts of the woodland sanctuary that I missed. And look at this, more and more mushrooms everywhere. And look also, do you see that little line of stones? They're covered in moss now. That was the original little sort of edge to the driveway that I put in. But you can see how the plants have grown out over that edge, and in fact perfectly grown out over that edge. Walking through the leaves is beautiful. Really is. Jack, come on. So yesterday, I think I went, did I go down this way? I can't remember. Did I go down that way or not? Okay, but what we're going to do is go down this way. So, yeah, I was walking around and looking at all the various trees, you know, sort of casting my eye around, not particularly above, because you can see this tree, and don't ask me the name of it, but it is spreading with little suckers, because there's one over there. This was something, oh I think, no, let me see, is it called a catalpa? It was something, it was a beautiful plant, beautiful tree that someone brought me as a gift, and it's just growing perfectly there. Anyway, so walking around and looking at the trees and looking at the shrubs, and looking down at the earth and witnessing the, not just the change, but the absolute change that's happened to this earth in such a short space of time. And the abundance which just keeps stacking up. I mean, this is autumn, and you would expect to see it subsiding a little bit, but it's just stacking up. There's more and more. I'm seeing more. I'm seeing sort of, it's like more possibilities. The evolutionary energy has been so fast here that the land is transformed, and what I was looking at 14 years ago bears no resemblance to what I'm looking at today. I mean, absolutely no resemblance. And so what it's offering me now in terms of what it can be used for just seems to be sort of endless possibilities. I mean, look at this fern over here. You'd be hard pressed to find something like that in a fernery, or are they called a stumpery now? But just the lushness of it is amazing. Listen to those birds. So yes, there I was, washing clothes and contemplating restorative justice. Just move this branch here, that little bit of dry hardwood that's broken off. Contemplating restorative justice and beginning to understand the word restorative. Because, you know, you hear of people who've committed crimes, meeting their victims and trying to apologise or to restore something of what they've done wrong, you know, to kind of make good, if you like. And so I was thinking, where do we put that line of restoration? Do we say, let's try and restore Mother Earth to how she was 10 years ago? Well, no, that's silly, because 10 years ago a lot of what's wrong now was being done. 20 years ago, 30, 40, 50, 100, 200. When did this downward spiral begin? Well, I think we've got to go back much further. I think we've got to go back hundreds of years to really understand restorative justice for Mother Earth. And I'll give you an example of that. I was reading about King Philip of Spain. Now, he was on the throne of Spain around the time of Elizabeth I. So we're talking 16th century, late 15th, early 16th century. And this, by the way, as an aside, this is a really good piece of information for you to research yourself. And you can just type in, you know, all the keywords into your search engine and you'll find lots of info. So, King Philip was on the throne of Spain, and of course we've all heard of the Spanish Armada, where wanted to invade England, and Spain at that time was covered with oak forest, covered, and the history books show, and the story goes, that he actually ordered the forests of Spain, the oak forest, to be cut down to build the ships for the Armada. So he ordered destruction in order to facilitate invasion and destruction. He wasn't the first. He won't be the last, because we're still living with that mindset. But Spain was denuded of her forests for this project. And today, what's happening in Spain is that much of central Spain, away from the coast, is having problems with water. Not enough water. And 90%, that's 90% of Spain's trees have gone. So whatever was there, 90% is now gone. So 90% of Spain doesn't have trees. And there's massive problems now with lack of water. Well, I haven't trained professionally in geography or woodland management or water management or anything like that. But I know intuitively, I know quietly, that in order to have water supply, we need to have trees. Because if you have trees on a mountain, or trees on a hill, or trees on the land, it actually slows down the runoff of rain from the topsoil. And it allows the rain, the water, to soak in and slowly fill the aquifers. And at the same time, it dries out the land and sort of channels the water. And more often than not, through their root systems as well, but channels the water downwards, down deep into the earth where it wants to go. And so, problems like erosion, are no longer a problem. Problems with aquifers running low are no longer a problem. Problems with the earth overheating because the mantle is exposed to the harsh sun all the time are no longer a problem. Problems with too much carbon in the air because there's not enough leaves on plants and trees to soak it up is no longer a problem. And so on and so forth. You know, we can actually draw up long lists of the benefits of planting trees and the benefits of restorative justice. And that's all it comes down to. And I think really that's all that I really wanted to say yesterday in my video. Yes, I wanted to show you how easily it's all happened. I say easily, I mean there was a lot of hard work on my behalf. But I'm not complaining. It was work that I enjoyed doing. I wouldn't change one day of the past 14 years. I wouldn't change one day of it. And, you know, getting athlete's foot several times because of leaking wellies, I wouldn't change that. I wouldn't change the tiredness I felt as I sort of fell onto the bed at night. I wouldn't change being without money and worrying about how I was going to pay the mortgage. I wouldn't change any of that. Because look at this. It has been worth every minute, and I wouldn't change any of it. But if politicians aren't going to do it, then we've got to get our heads around it ourselves. And we've got to be thinking in terms of restorative justice. And restorative justice for Mother Earth means trying to restore what we have stripped away from her, what we have stolen from her, what we have taken from her, what we have punished her with. And that's the removal of trees and plants and shrubs and leaf fall like this and the health it brings. It could be done so damned easily by the governments of this world. And when they're sitting in places like Paris talking about accords and agreements and climate change and carbon neutral and everything else, you know, I think if I was there, I'd have to go up and shake them all by the shoulders, one by one, give them a jolly good shake until their brains started to rattle in their heads, and say just 2 words. Restore trees. However, that's not going to happen. I don't have enough followers on YouTube to make an impact. I don't have enough subscribers anywhere really to make an impact on anything. I just do what I do and, you know, get along. Mainstream media are not interested. But that's okay too. I realised that a long time ago. So I continue doing what I'm doing. And in a childish way, I have a deep and abiding trust that Mother Earth will at least channel all this in the right direction. Because I do believe in that powerful energy. And at some point, somewhere in the future, and I'd rather it be sooner than later, Bealtaine Cottage Woodland Sanctuary will be used as a template for how to do it. For how to easily and lovingly deal out restorative justice. Well, in the meantime, of course, I get to live in this, and I wouldn't be anywhere else. I wouldn't choose to be anywhere else. That's a donkey. There's donkeys down the road. They're very noisy. Anyway. Oh, shall show you around now, just we'll have a little bit of a dander. A dander and a gander. See, this here gives me such delight and such hope. Look, do you remember last year when I started these little rustic beds? You'll remember the videos and the occasional blog that I wrote about them. And growing the little cotoneaster from seeds from that one round the back on the veranda. Look. And putting logs and stones in place, anything at all in place, just to hold that little bit of soil in on top of the gravel. Look at that. Look how easy it is to grow plants and trees and shrubs and all this lovely carbon-loving, carbon-drinking greenery. I don't know where that wee fern came from. I know where the little bay tree came from because I grew those in cuttings. But look, there's a little antirrhinum growing in there. See? This is from my homemade compost. And there's nasturtium. And Lord knows what else. Look at this. There's fennel. And today I was emptying one of the bins of my compost. That's it there, look how healthy that looks. Isn't this amazing? There's another lovely fern coming up there, look. I didn't plant that in. But I think someone was asking me about the ferns. I brought one fern onto the land, you know, in the early stages of planting the trees. It was a little fern that I took up from the woodland somewhere in some old estate. And I deliberately planted it in there along the hedge because of course that's facing into the west, and the wind then blew the spores from it, which are basically the seeds, in and around underneath the trees. And now I have ferns everywhere, and they're all different kinds of ferns. There's a little tree, look, silver birch, a wee silver birch. So I was spreading some of the compost, and I was also emptying the leaves and grass cuttings, you know, from the lawnmower. Look, I've just piled them all up there. Just held in place by a couple of old logs, which again feeds the fertility down into the ground. Put some more compost in around here, look, and here. Beautifully sort of biodegraded down. Oh, how easy it is. How very easy. And these are the Montbretia, Crocosmia. Look, I was just pulling up all the bits, and I've thrown them all down on there, and a little bit of compost on the top, and it'll all rot down and create life. Create lots and lots of life. Come on, Jack. Good boy. So, my friend Dwayne arrives tomorrow. This will be the view from the lodge door for him. Look, I was sweeping up along here, but the leaves have blown in. But I managed to sweep up in the little corners and places that needed it. But look at this for a view. Dwayne, if you're watching this, this is going to be your view for the week. Look at those colours. You know, I remember as a child reading about the Garden of Eden and just thinking, you know, this is nonsense. It wouldn't take long for us to get, you know, just to plant it all again. Maybe that's the thoughts and dreams of a child who was brought up in a tiny little terraced kind of a ghetto house without a garden. Or maybe it was memories from a previous life, I don't know. Everything's possible. This is what restorative justice looks like. Who wouldn't want it? Now, on the practical side, just before I leave you, today's Sunday. I will be going to the post office tomorrow, so anyone who wants books or calendars, and remember, they are my source of income. If you order them today, or later on this evening, or even early tomorrow morning, they'll be in the post to you tomorrow. And I've had some great feedback on the speed at which the calendars have been delivered to people. So, and we're getting towards the end of September as well. So we've got October and November, and then it's December. So any of you who want to order, will support Bealtaine Cottage by choosing calendars or even books or maps as gifts for midwinter, for Christmas, for New Year, birthdays. I'm happy to post direct. Blessings to you all on this beautiful, beautiful evening. And one last look at what restorative justice looks like. Oh, it comes with a lot of perks as well for us. There's another fig. Blessings to you all.